when I got my undercut, that was like I think a big turning point. I don't even remember it now, but you can't really shame somebody other when you know like you feel so right in getting it. When I felt so right in getting it.
I was so shocked with the undercut. I was really like, wow, you're the one pushing all the boundaries.
They're trying to put so much shame into me getting the undercut, but it really didn't work. Like I kept it for almost a year. It was also just so freeing. Like that was when I took back control into my own life in my own hand, and I couldn't imagine not doing it. Um,
I don't think
because
the thing I think that was the weirdest though is
uh,
when our families put like constraints on our comfort. That's the part what I don't understand. Hi there, sister.
hi.
Welcome back to Cafecito Corner on Cuéntame. We're going to be chatting today a little bit about just, family, like topics that just come to mind. I'd be interested in picking your brain on a bunch of things. I think we have a couple of things to talk about, so let's just jump into it. I think our first topic,
Hmm.
for one, is the impact of generational trauma on two very different people in our family. And I was raised by our father when he was young, and you were in your 20s, and you were raised by Papi after he hit what, like his 50s? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had me when he was about to turn 50, I think, and then even like our our other sisters that are older than me and the youngest, who are but
You guys are
they
all in your
were
20s.
they also experienced a different childhood growing up, just
Right.
because, and part of it was also the energy that our parents had,
Mm.
but also like I was like I remember social media did play a big part, especially with our older sister, our sister, who was obsessed with social media as it was coming out. Like I remember I was like 8 years old and she was trying to make me a Tumblr page and making everyone a Tumblr page. I think she even got our mom to do it. I don't think she ever actually posted it anything other than like a couple of cakes, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that definitely shaped their personalities and how they grew up. And like, especially in their later teen years, and like me not even being a teen yet, I was between like 8 and 10. We were just talking about, I remember them talking about how they would, especially one of our sisters, like doing things to make sure, like, if she could post it on Instagram or Tumblr and like reach an audience, put that in air quotes. Yeah.
Because I remember at that time, from my perspective, I was really like, this is not appropriate. This is like you're like a teenager. Like this is not okay.
And
Um,
I was talking about this with our other sister yesterday on a walk because she was saying how freeing it is that my generation, like, she notices is wearing like baggy clothing and it's like street style, but it's really cozy and comfortable compared to how it was for her growing up in like 2015. Even though I don't think that's fair to say, because I definitely feel like there people who are slightly too young are dressing too mature, or honestly, like some 12-year-olds dressing and wearing makeup better than I do.
mhm.
And it's like it's not as seen, and I feel like it's not like if you're just living your life day to day, I think comfortability and like being just who you are as like as authentically yourself as possible
Mhm.
and being very vulnerable is like preferred in my generation versus having this curated version of yourself.
Well, okay. Because that, so authenticity
Hmm.
and how that relates to the way our parents raised us, right?
Hmm.
Um, how, like, how much freedom of expression did you think that you had growing up?
Growing up, not much.
Okay.
I don't think I was also very shy as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I I didn't really speak up at all. I remember there were still jokes being called like I was mute until I was like 7. Um, just because I was just a really quiet kid. I remember I said I liked these one pair of black and white glittery shoes, and then for the rest of my childhood, I remember wearing glitter, but like I didn't really say anything until I was able to like finally say I felt comfortable saying like, no, this is not what I like anymore. Please don't dress me up in sequins. I think you know now I dress mostly in like neutrals and blacks, but it took me a long time to even get there to like speak up. But it was also just because I felt like either way, I don't think they would have liked how I felt like I would be most comfortable growing up.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah. There
because
wasn't a lot of room to breathe in our family.
yeah, there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of room to break out of the already set way that they expected you to look.
Oh yeah.
I grew up a little bit more tomboyish, but I was still expected to dress more girly.
Hmm.
Like
And the
um
sister that's older than you too, she also really resisted the girly stuff.
yeah.
But she was very assertive about it.
Hmm.
Whereas you and I had a big tomboy streak when we were younger, and even to this day, I think like it's
Yeah.
hard to get the two of us in a skirt, and and yet, you know, they were still just putting us in pink and purple and frill and lace and sequins and yeah, because we
And
weren't
like
assertive. That's the thing.
no.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I definitely because I also didn't want to just be out straight out say like no, I think this is hideous. Like no.
But okay, so
Yeah.
when do you feel like you really came into your authenticity? When you felt like you were actually able to express yourself?
Not until high school. I think I was playing around with different aesthetics that I saw that was also popular at the time because it was when what is that movie called on Netflix? It's a rom-com. To All the Boys I Loved Before. The main character, I
Hmm.
loved how she dressed because it felt so like just calming. There was like it wasn't just one like a top and a shirt. It was I mean, a top and a bottom. There was some layering, there was also some accessories going on, but and it went with the time. Because I remember that was like when scrunchies were back in with the big water bottle and the big t-shirts, but the way she made it her own, and I really tried to copy that.
Hmm.
And then after that, it started snowballing into what I think now is my style today, where it's a lot less pattern because there's a lot of stripes in high school I wore a lot of stripes and not like flattering either, but I think it made me look more stumpy, but no. By that point as I got through high school, the more I realized like nobody's saying anything to me, and as long as like I felt good, I was getting better, like with choosing things that I like that like instead of trying to combine the old with the new. But it wasn't until I think honestly my senior year or like towards yeah, where I was also getting more confident with my hair.
Yes.
That's when I felt so much more in touch with myself because I remember growing up hating doing my hair. Like if it wasn't straight because it was so damaged, like I would just try to put it up in a ponytail and like it would but it was also I liked my hair really short, so it was kind of but it wasn't like a curly cut or anything. It was just straight and like a straight bob basically. And it didn't look good if it wasn't done. But it wasn't done 99% of the time. So I
Yeah.
hated how I was dressing, even like in school when I was wearing uniform and like that was a big part of it that like I never got right. So when I got comfortable with like showing out my curly hair and like actually like trying to style it instead of just dealing with it, that's when I felt like I was like, okay, I get her. I get me. Like I was looking in the mirror and I was like, okay, this I could work with.
Hmm.
Um,
And then also, yeah, your undercut. That was a big shock,
oh,
I think.
oh yeah, it was so freeing. I forgot about that.
Oh
Like
yeah.
my listen, we have a lot of hair.
That was shocking. That was really, really shocking.
We,
So tell us a little bit about your piercing and your tattoos. Your
ooh,
piercings
okay.
and your tattoos. Because at first it was the hair. Well, actually, no. First
Mhm,
it was the way you dressed.
mhm.
And then it was also your hair. And these were like really small no's, right? Like you saying no to everybody in the family, like, no, I'm going to do it
Yeah.
my way. Yeah.
I don't even think I really said no. I just quietly did things and they
Yes.
weren't paying attention. And then I didn't get any consequences. And I was like, it kind of snowballed and into now where I'm an adult and now I have my own money and I've gotten like three, four piercings at a time, which is not a good idea. I, but I've always like, even when I was a kid, I was drawing things on my hand. During tests, I'd like to ease my anxiety. I would just doodle on my hand, and by the end of it, my whole hand to like forearm would be covered in tattoos, and I'll still get an A.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Like for all the
so
parents listening, like doodling actually helps stimulate the brain and it gives us a
yeah,
creative outlet. So yeah, let your kids doodle. So,
and I've always liked the idea of having, because I see it as art and like just a permanent accessory
hmm.
and something that could have hold meaning and it's not you don't even have to add anything to yourself.
Hmm.
Like so when I was in high school, my first piercing that wasn't was or like abnormal piercing,
Hmm.
I went with our sister to go and
Hmm.
I got my second lobe done
Hmm.
and I fell in love with it. I was looking in the mirror afterwards when I got home and I was just like, I need more. And I took photos and I was like adding, I went into, um, to Canva and like adding, um, little stickers of earrings to my ear to see how it would look. And I added more on my Pinterest too. And then eventually, a couple months went by, and my friend told me about this piercing place that I could go to, and then I got like I think my third lobe done, and then my belly piercing, and that was also like, wow, it's not just the ears, I could do more. And it felt so freeing too because it's like finally like it felt like I was out of a little box that I was supposed to be set in that didn't feel like me.
Hmm.
Because I'm also, because I never grew up liking jewelry. I remember always being yelled at to wear earrings. Like afterwards, once I was getting piercings and like tattoos for myself, I, now I can't imagine not wearing jewelry and it's just a part of me. Like I only take off half of my jewelry to when I need to clean it, you know? And But on the flip side, now my mom hates the amount of jewelry I have on my ears. Our dad, he's okay with it. He's cool with it. He actually, when he saw my newest tattoo, he was like, "You should have just wrote dad."
That's
Like that's what you should have done. And I was
of
just like,
course.
"Don't worry, yours is coming." Um,
We can all get just different variations
yeah.
of it.
But
Yeah.
he also like didn't like on a serious note, he didn't hate it. He also liked that it was still kind of discreet because it's technically like where if I was wearing sleeves, it would still be covered.
Hmm.
And that's part of the, I guess, generational barrier because what my mom doesn't like is the fact that I have so many piercings and tattoos, and she thinks it's going to hurt my ability to find a good a job in the future for a good company. And at first, her argument was about modesty and about how women should not have tattoos to hurt or not hurt their body image, but like disrupt the beauty of my body as is.
Yeah.
And then, but I was like, half of our cousins that are men have tattoos.
Yeah. So there's that gender discrepancy too, right? The
Yeah.
standards to which we are held that our male counterparts are not held. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like we can also chalk a little bit of that up to, well, Ba spent the majority of his life growing up in New York, and your mom didn't. They also really want the best for us. But there is a little bit like we're talking about generational trauma. I think for our family in particular, because they're immigrating from a place with like not a lot of economic opportunity, for them the thing at the forefront of their mind is like success. And
Yeah.
success looks like not struggling. And they're just like, I don't want to see you struggle just because you decided to make, to express yourself in this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there is also your need to express yourself, your need to have like your creative outlet and to like just be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that like you are one of the youngest to be so financially like almost independent. Because you're just like really smart about where you spend your money and then how you earn it. And, like you just really put your like a lot of effort into that. Like everything you do is with like 100% effort. So I don't see it being a problem, but I think that like our parents, what they need to see, right, is they need to see more of the potential. They need to see more of what's important, that you put 100% into everything that you do, right? And like you don't take things lightly. But I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe myself and the other older sister, because we all weren't always 100%. Sometimes like our eyes were just, hungrier than our stomachs. That like we kind of ruined it a little bit because our parents were like, "Well, you don't want to end up like those two." Like,
I mean, it's also just such a linear way of thinking about how to live your life. Like our parents grew up, more so my mom more than our dad,
mm-hmm,
grew up with this like mentality of needing to survive first,
mm-hmm,
and especially her being of the eldest in her family, having to cater to men around her,
mm-hmm.
and especially me because like just visually looking at me, you could see that I'm not catering to uh this the way that she grew up, thinking that like I have to cater to the men in around me. I have to make sure that the that they're fine and then I'll be fine.
Oh yeah, the male
And
gaze. The male gaze
yeah,
is something that's like by
yes,
default, right? Yeah.
because the conversation that we had when she saw my tattoo, also, I was just like, well, when I brought up the point about our cousins having tattoos, even our sister's boyfriends having tattoos, they're like, well, no, it's different. And like, I also said I didn't like them either. And I was just like, okay, but now you're going back on what you were saying before. So, like, what is it? Is it because I'm a woman, or is it because you just don't like tattoos, period? Like, is it like a
Mm-hmm.
religious thing, or is it just where I stand in society in your eyes? Or is it both? Because the religious thing does come into play a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I think after I don't know, like my first tattoo, it kind of like that kind of got glossed over because I already um not like damaged my body in the eyes of God. Like, not to be disrespectful, of course, but it's just like always if we're thinking about it that way, then all this rejuvenating skincare that we do is also like damaging our bodies in the way of God. But I
Yeah.
think it's more about it was more about where she views women in
Mm-hmm.
society than anything
Mm-hmm.
else.
That got me thinking about something that I was researching, actually,
Mm-hmm.
preparing for this podcast series was um, I was trying to see when here in the Caribbean, like us people from the Caribbean, when was it that we shifted from matriarchal, like woman first, to patriarchal, right? And so a lot of the anthropological and archaeological evidence points to the settler mindset, and the linchpin to all of that is getting women on board, right? And so a lot of the researchers are like, this wouldn't have been so like easy to implement if the women hadn't been on board, because the Taino women and the Caribbean women in general, like before the settlers arrived, they were the ones running everything. They were the ones like, you know, like determining the household status and trade. And, you know, they may not have been the ones who went out and fought, but they were definitely the
Mm-hmm.
ones who like ran things. And it's interesting that a lot of the research is pointing to the complicity of mothers and grandmothers in repressing the freedoms and expressions of their children, of their girls, that then led to this cycle of like female like shaming, just like shaming us for everything. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of it went hand in hand with the church, which is really interesting that you bring up the church, because you're just like, yep, you're getting it, that you know, when you combine, you know, this kind of mentality with the church's hierarchy, and if you're really devout, especially in Catholicism, where marriage in the church doesn't even exist, right? Like the way it does in the non-Catholic churches. Well, then you've got your perfect storm of like, well, now we're like living in a patriarchal society, when traditionally in the Caribbean, that's not how they lived. And so I think it's really interesting too that like women can still be the head at home, but there's still a lot of like shaming of their girls. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I think is like really sad in the generational trauma space. And I think that's the one that affects us the most. Cause like we all have stories of how we felt ashamed, right? Or like guilty when we shouldn't. Like, when did you start? Like, you were telling me about like how after high school, when you were getting all your tattoos and piercings, you're just like, well, I can do this now. Like, is that when you stopped feeling like kind of like ashamed and guilty for doing all these things?
Mm, yes and no,
Mm-hmm.
because it started as like quiet rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Before that,
Mm-hmm.
like you mentioned it before, when I got my undercut and like
Mm-hmm.
also keeping my hair short, like that was the one thing our dad really didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's how short I liked my hair, and like I could see his distaste even if he didn't say it, because he
Oh
was
yeah.
also he pre he didn't really shout his opinions as much, you know.
We felt the shame with
Yeah,
yeah, the disappointment.
yeah, but I don't know. I also felt like because the age gap between all of us, like me being the youngest by almost a decade, I there was less effort into telling sharing their right and wrongs. But I still felt it, and there's still um like microdosing what they thought was right, and even if it was just like them trying to conform me into one way of being, I was being fed all this other information by our other sisters, like watching them grow up and like watching what they were doing, and also just being left alone a lot with the use of the internet. Like, um, like I was being told one thing, but I was able to look up other things, like see how other people like like were living, especially like on YouTube, like how people would like were vlogging, and it would be like I remember I saw a lot of like vlogs of like people doing like long road trips in their vans,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the time it would be like I I forgot who they were, but there was a couple, and I was just like, but it was the woman doing most of the renovations, and then she was also the one who like was doing most of the camera work and like showing their life. And I was like, this is completely different than what I was imagining how I could live when
Mm-hmm.
I'm an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And like not agreeing to what they were was being fed into me at home, but like really liking what I was like watching. I mean, yeah, I could see myself solo traveling. Like, yes, there's dangers to it, but it's not just because I'm a woman. Like, there's gonna be dangers no matter what, but that doesn't mean I'm not capable of doing it.
Oh yeah.
And it was that mindset that made me like care less and less. And then as I got older, I was less scared of showing it outwardly. Like now, especially like if I'm getting dressed for work, like sometimes I'll wear just like all men's clothing and my mom will look at me and like she just like tilts her head confused when like especially when I was working Pride this like um she was uh like she just like kind of goes with it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
But
think that what you were saying about the information,
hmm
that's one thing that not a lot of our generation, like our ancestors, had access to, you
yeah.
know? And when you give someone access to information, especially around things that happen around the world in real time, it's really hard to push your worldview on people when they have access to the alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, what do you do now, you know?
It also doesn't work when you try to shame somebody for living against your worldview because there was like when I was still a kid, there's definitely pushback, but I just did it anyways. I
Hmm.
did like when I got my undercut, that was like I think a big turning point. I don't even remember it now, but you can't really shame somebody other when you know like you feel so right in getting it. When I felt so right in getting it.
I was so shocked with the undercut. I was really like, wow, you're the one pushing all the boundaries.
They're trying to put so much shame into me getting the undercut, but it really didn't work. Like I kept it for almost a year. It was also just so freeing. Like that was when I took back control into my own life in my own hand, and I couldn't imagine not doing it. Um,
I don't think
because
the thing I think that was the weirdest though is
uh,
when our families put like constraints on our comfort. That's the part what I don't understand. Because for you, the undercut was like what you kept telling me was that you felt so much relief on your head. And you had
yeah,
a
yeah.
really long, very dense hair. Like, so when you've got a lot of hair like that, that's heavy and it's a lot to deal with.
hmm
It was about your
It
lifestyle, it was about your comfort.
it was literally and figuratively weighing me down. It was also surface level. Like it was also like baseless. There's no real reason why I shouldn't get an undercut. It
Hmm.
was just that it went against the view and image that I was supposed to have. And, and then it's also like just also scary. When
Hmm.
I remember feeling really scared, but I couldn't turn back. Like when he did um uh the first cut, I saw all my hair on the ground and I was just like, well, I can't turn back now. I have to stay in this chair because I'm gonna look crazy now if I walk out now. It was also, they didn't take it out on me as much as I thought they would because I remember when our other sister got a pixie cut when she was 16 and she just
Mm-hmm.
came home with with the pixie cut.
Mm-hmm.
It was they it was as if you didn't know the context, like someone died.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was,
Yeah. But that talks to like something else too, that like, you know, there are some of us who get blamed for things and then some of us who get away with things. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
The
Like
unfairness of it all. Yeah.
if you're the first to do it,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to get all the backlash. And then once, for example, like I follow, and I would get less backlash because they already experienced it, and
Yes.
it's there's no real consequence after the fact. They had a lot of talk, like backlash and like like yelling, but there's no actual physical consequence to doing what we wanted.
Well, okay. So that's
At least
interesting
for
that you say that because, like, for some of us sisters, that yelling is enough to
um
really scar us. You know, like, you know that there's at least
yeah.
two of us who are like really traumatized by all that yelling. I for sure didn't handle that well, like that energy, that
Hmm.
negative energy, like it just doesn't sit well.
Hmm.
But I think that like you're pretty strong in that like sense to handle that energy and like
Hmm.
not let it affect you as much as it's affecting some of us.
I I felt like I thought I was just so used to it even before it got to me
Hmm.
because I was very quiet, but I was very observant. It wasn't that like I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
So even when I was a kid and I was just doing my thing because I really just stayed in my lane, was doing like I was doing the right thing when I was a kid. Like I was just keeping up my grades, I was being quiet, I wasn't being a problem. And then it wasn't until I was getting older and I really started taking taking my life into my own hands when because I could start buying things for myself. I could start like using money to present the way I want to. That's when it started of like the backlash was coming to me. But so growing up, I was just watching everyone else getting yelled at or them yelling at each other,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't right. I know it's not right, but also like, but all it is just like I was just um trying to understand why they were yelling and just be like they're yelling because they're angry and they're not they're not communicating the way that they should even though they are the parents and they do have authority to communicate the way they should with
Yeah.
their kids. And that's also why I don't think I cared as much when and I didn't really feel the shame because I was just, at the end of the day, I'm doing what's right for me and I'm not hurting anybody else and I'm not hurting myself either.
Hmm.
Um, but I've seen their words hurt and like I am still affected by it, but uh, it's what I choose hurt. Like, is whatever I choose affects me,
Yeah.
not the other way around.
Yeah.
But that also comes with its own issues because I think I'm definitely more uh, evasive when it comes to when people are trying to get to know me. I'm now more distant.
So yeah, that's interesting. I think our parents, it's just really complicated. And that's the thing that I wanted to talk about, the generational trauma part, is that when you said that in the household when everybody's just yelling, It's just them being hurt, and angry. I think a lot of that is that, like, through the generations, we haven't really like embraced the positive sharing. We've embraced the negative sharing, right? Like the default is always like, I can tell you when I'm angry, I can tell you when I'm upset, but where is everybody when they want to celebrate something, or like when they want to celebrate our achievements? They want to celebrate the like big milestones, like you graduated, you got married, you did the things that you were supposed to do. But where are the achievements for you? For example, like you're an investor, and I'm really proud of you because like you're a successful investor and you're really like you really handle your finances like super well. Where is the fanfare over that, right? There are the small wins that like we just never get, and that hurts in the end.
Hmm.
Yeah, because they're just celebrating the things that they think are important, not the things that we think are important. Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that can hurt because that's like a little like cut that lasts for much longer, I think.
it was very conditional what they viewed as achievements and was celebrated. Uh,
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
I think in a lot of Caribbean and Latin American families, they like we do have this sense of there's unconditional love in certain circumstances, and then there's very conditional love and very conditional like not just love, but like just happiness and like everything else.
Hmm.
It's just like, yeah, you didn't do it this way, so I'm still not happy with you.
It's just so hard. Like, I'm trying to look back at all the experiences we've all had, and because it's still the same to this day, it's just um like the achievements are now farther apart because as you're growing up, you have multiple like graduations. You're also celebrating the fact that you're you're now you're going from a kid to being 13 to now being 16, and now you're an adult, and like all these graduations in between, like you're celebrating as a kid that like now you don't. I guess I haven't really realized have been paying attention to the small achievements that we make. Um, and other than birthdays, really, we're not really like celebrating or like saying good job to each other.
But on a more
It's,
positive note, I think
yeah.
that the four of us, technically, we're breaking the cycle because the four of us, the way we communicate amongst ourselves, amongst us, like, is so different. We do check in with each other. We do try to give each other space. We do try to like support each other. Like, I
Hmm.
don't think that any of us sisters are going to yell at us for like getting another piercing or another tattoo. They may not like the way it looks, but we still like support each other in that way, you know? Yeah, you in particular are probably the one sister to embrace like good mental health the earliest, I think. And I
Um,
think that's like a generational exposure to like what does good mental health look like? Yeah.
that was also like ingrained to me in school too, because and like starting in middle school, they were really like driving it into us to make sure like we're mentally okay, we're speaking out about our issues, and that like if nothing else, there are people in the school to help us, you know? And and then especially after COVID or like during COVID, um that like just geared up by like 200%. He, there were even more programs, even more clubs catered to the mental health and like grounding oneself and really grilling that into our heads to be able to learn. Because how are you going to learn if you're not, if you're worried about just being okay day to day.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when I was also feeling really, really depressed, not very, very feeling good at all. I was very anxious a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very, I I don't think it was too noticeable because I was still showing up to all the programs and clubs I was a part of and I was in, but that was just me overworking myself and not realizing that I wasn't actually giving myself grace.
Mm-hmm. But
Uh,
that is something that we learn. That is something that
yeah,
is taught in our family is to just like get through it, right? There
yeah,
is no like pausing and taking a breath. My God, no.
mm, yeah, because like it shows that you're weaker, like you can't do
You
the
know
hard
that,
work.
like now we realize it's okay to take a break. Not everything has to be spick and span and perfect all the time. You have
Mm,
to make time out for yourself, which goes back to your expression, right? Like your creative outlet gave you like something like where you can just be you. If you're busy all the
mhm,
time, how do you get to be you if you're just busy all the time? How do you even know who you are if you're just busy all the time?
mhm,
So, um, since like the pandemic, right? Since my surgery, you and I have been talking a lot about the family history, and you've been
mhm,
like probably like my assistant almost, like someone I can just talk to about like doing the research.
mhm,
What are some of your like favorite moments from doing this research together?
mhm. One, well, for starters, getting closer to you and having an outlet to get closer to you, because it
Oh, yeah,
was,
our shared special interest.
yeah, because we didn't talk much before that.
Mm,
And then, especially then when we moved back to the East Coast for a brief moment, that's when I was able to see you more often as well.
yeah, that was fun.
That was, and also seeing your setup, I was, uh, um, one of the first times I went to visit you, I remember um, you had a set of records that you're sifting through on one side of your screen, and then the other side it was you in like trying to connect the dots and like who we're related to, how we're related to them, and it was really amazing because like I felt so disconnected from our family history because no one
Mm,
really explained it to me, and by the time I was growing up, the family gatherings were far and few in between, and the people who showed up were it wasn't as lively, it wasn't as many people because a lot of people scattered and moved around. And so just getting to know our the history and getting to know it with you as well, it really felt like I got closer to understanding how we got here. And it was, I really appreciated, I learned to appreciate uh, more people in our family and how they shaped, um, like, part, like our dad, and like how it shaped us now, and we didn't even realize it. And it was really just intriguing to see how interconnected we truly were in uh, more ways than one.
oh yeah. Like I agree with you that doing the spreadsheet, especially in a family like an Italian family or like a Latin American family, like those kinds of families where, you have an uncle, you have a cousin because that's their title, but you don't know how you're actually related. Like, so it's cousin, but
Hmm.
how,
Yeah.
right? Because we'll say cousin for even like a third cousin once removed or something. And, it was always funny to me to like visit the Haverstraw family. And one day I was thinking, okay, so how the heck are we related to the Haverstar family, right? So they share our last name,
Mm-hmm.
and like I knew they were related to us somehow. So I asked Papi one day, like, hey, how are we related to those people? You remember the Haverstar family? He's like, of course I do. And I'm like, so how are we related? And he goes, I couldn't really tell you. I don't I don't remember. And I'm like, okay, great. Cause I got DNA matches with them and like I don't know how to connect them to the tree. I don't know like how they relate. It's not like immediately obvious. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
doing those spreadsheets helps because it's so weird the way people are related. It's so weird that like you'll have like someone who's actually related to you through your third great grandparents, but you still call them cousin, right? Because they're family, because as long as they grew up in a
Mm-hmm.
household with you, like that's it. They're just cousin.
Yeah.
Like their title is cousin.
Yeah. Like it doesn't matter how far removed you are, or even if they are blood related or not. If they grew up
Yeah.
with your family, they're primo, prima. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like
And I think
and
that actually connects us to other cultures too, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
have you ever hung out with like people from South Asia?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have, I'm sure you recognize that they also call like parental figures or like people who they look up to auntie and uncle, right? And it's the same thing that we do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if that person's helping to raise you, they're compi, compa, or like they're just auntie, uncle, like, and you don't even know how you're related.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I- It really blurs the lines that like or just like looking at the photos instead of and just like questioning like how why is this person holding me as a baby and now understanding like oh they're related to our great aunt and um like we come that's how we're related. It's it's so much clarity.
And then when you said that, like, knowing how we're all connected really helped you, like, do you have an example of that I uncovered with our research?
Um especially when Rita passed, I felt like I was more like I I was more connected with the family, and when we were at the funeral, um I just I felt the connection more. I felt like I understood these people more and why they're grieving, and it felt more like community versus these people that I saw maybe once a year or if that,
Yeah.
because I didn't grow up with the July 4th parties as much.
Yeah.
I heard about them more than experienced them.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there was
yeah.
such a disconnect.
Yeah.
Like, and like, but because to me it was just like tales and stories, if that. Because a lot of the time growing up, I was just kind of like yes, anding it with like when they were telling stories, but I didn't get any of the like backstory from what they were saying now or doing now. I was just kind I was just kind of going along with it.
Yeah, I did miss the July 4th crew. It was
Hmm.
so nice to see everybody there
Yeah.
and to get like a big thick picture so we could compare to like when we were little and used to get together and now we're all grown.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
'Cause, especially for that side of the family, because my mom's side of the family, like I grew up seeing them more often.
And they're kind of smaller, more tight knit, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like as like spread out, because a lot of Pa's side of the family, like they moved around and um like I just remember hearing that somebody else moved to Maryland. There were somebody was moving back to like Puerto Rico, and I'm like, cool, great, awesome. Like I don't remember meeting these people, but I guess if they held me as a baby, okay. Like I wish them luck.
Same. Oh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's like nothing has ever changed because when I used to go to Pa's shop as a kid, he was always introducing me to someone new.
Oh my God, yes.
And then for Wita's wake for the funeral, I saw a bunch of them and I was like, yes, I remember you, but I haven't seen you in like 20 years or more, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, almost like 35 years. And it was crazy to see them again. And they're, as time goes by, their numbers are getting smaller. So it's really nice to see some people, maybe for the last time ever.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild that like when I was a kid going to the store, I'd get introduced to people, and even like family members would go to the store to pick up their orders. And I would say the same thing. I'd be like, okay, nice to meet you, like cousin, auntie, uncle, I don't know. And those questions stayed with me. That really was like what spurred me on. Was
Hmm.
like, what do you mean cousin? Like how? Like I could do the math. I was like, how? Like you need to tell me actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know something though? At the July 4th get-togethers, we had this one Tia, and she was the equivalent of whose generation? I guess Papi's generation. She's this one Tia, and her kids were the ones who were all at the July 4th parties because they grew up in the Bronx and they were there at the wake, right? And well, one of her kids is still living with Huito, actually. And so I always thought she was the one related to us. I didn't know that it was her husband, our uncle, who was the one who was related to us because he passed away in the 70s. And so, like, or was it in the 70s or was it in the 90s? I just didn't know. So, for my whole freaking life, I thought she was our aunt. Like I just was like taking it for granted because all her kids look like her. So I was just like, ah, well, she's Thea, she's aunt. Like I thought she was like Wita's like sibling or something like that, but no.
Hmm.
So it wasn't until I started doing the family tree that I was like, oh, that's who she is. I mean, we are still related to her because Santiago. We're all like we're actually all related to each other in Santiago anyway, but that was like a real aha moment for me actually. I had no idea. Um okay. Did you have anything else? Any like parting words?
Um, Other than this is gonna make me contemplate about other childhood stories or things that we experienced and
Mm.
going to think about after this.
Mm.
Um, you know, like
All right, sister. Thank you so much for joining.
thank you for having me.
Awesome. I hope we can do another session soon though.